Hello, Parsboro Community Radio listeners. Welcome to Exploring the Neighborhood with your hosts, Thor and Debbie, here on CICR 99.1 on your FM dial. We'd like to thank Kanza as the sponsor for our show.
For those of you who are not aware, Kanza is Cumberland County's only Careers Nova Scotia Centre and a vital participant in this area's road to prosperity. This year, Kanza is celebrating 15 years of serving the area and providing valuable employment and educational opportunities. Our goal for Exploring the Neighborhood is to take you on a series of half-hour adventures that include road trips, candid interviews, and commentaries.
We'll focus on the area's homegrown businesses, unique landmarks, and emerging talent. We're hoping to shine a well-deserved light on the local endeavors that promote eco-friendliness and self-sufficiency.
Here we are, and I am sitting in the Flying Colors Gallery and Retreat in the town of Maccan.
Maccan.
See, I get all the pronunciations wrong. And we are in Cumberland County, Nova Scotia. We are on what route?
Route 302.
Just before it hits
242 to Joggins.
at the junction of 302 and 242.
Yeah, just a little bit off the junction, about a quarter mile.
Beautiful place, you can tell, because there's a plaque of sorts.
Oh, yes, the sign up front.
Welcoming people in.
If the flags are out, I'm open. And actually, I'm open all the time because I live here, so.
Okay.
People can call anytime. A lot of times people bring people in from out of town, and the timing has to be according to their route. Sometimes people come early or late or on the weekend or whatever.
That actually works the same as the museum in Amherst at the Armory.
Oh, is that what they do?
Yeah, Ray Colson, he basically goes, I don't know when people are going to show up because some of them are novice, served in the armed forces, and when they show up, I got to be open.
Well, that's right, because you're part of their tour. You're not the destination in general, although I have started to become a destination for all over the Maritimes.
Oh, nice.
I get a lot of people from Prince Edward Island, Halifax, Parsboro, as far as Sussex, and regulars. A lot of regulars.
So why would they come visit you? Who are you? I know you as Dale.
I came here originally from Calgary, and I wanted to live out in the country for years and years, and I couldn't find anything around Calgary. Lived briefly in Meaford, Ontario, and Georgian Bay, but I wanted to have a nice big arts complex of some sort, and I kept looking farther and farther east, and I ended up in St. Martin's, New Brunswick. I had a big triplex there, similar to this setup. I had a gallery, a B&B, I had tenants, rare books, and that sort of thing, and antiques. And I'm an artist, so I do paintings of the area where I live. So after 8 years, my place caught on fire, and I was left with just a shirt on my back and my car. So I took what little insurance
That's good.
I took what little insurance I had and started looking around the Maritimes for where I could move, and I ended up in Maccan, and I love this building because it makes me feel very comfortable. It's a general store from around 1900, and when I was growing up, we had a general store in Westward Ho, Alberta, where I'm from, and my dad built it. And it was unusual in that it had a train running around the outside, a little miniature train running all through the garden. So if you were a child, it was quite magical. You got to go down riding the train around the grocery store while your parents were in shopping. Nice. That's where I got my first job at 7 years old, stamping cans.
Child labor.
Yes, child labor, but I enjoyed it. And so living in a small village reminds me a lot of when I was growing up and when you could park right in front of where you're going to shop.
I think Debbie and I landed in this area, not quite the same circumstances, but it was one of life's tragedies that turned into a bonus.
Yeah, that's the thing. When the fire happened, I just said to myself as it was burning, I said, I can either get all up in arms about this or I can just move on. And I wrote down everything that I thought I'd lost that night, put it in a drawer, the list, and never opened the drawer. It's turned out actually better here than I had previously. I've got tons of good clients from all over the Maritimes that bring things in. It's a service as well for people downsizing. They get more on consignment than they do if they go to an auction or a yard sale, and often their children don't want their family heirlooms, and of course they're attached to them and they want to see them at least get a good home. So that's where I come in.
That is true, and Debbie and I are actually even experiencing it now, where things that we treasure, our kids couldn't care less about.
Exactly. And it's not all 100% that way. There are young people that do appreciate history, that do connect with their grandparents or their great-grandparents or their legacy or whatever it is. And then there's also people that just treat it from a scientific angle, a human interest angle, all these unique old things, they have no idea what they are. So there's all kinds of different people that come in here.
You don't have an Enigma machine, do you?
No, I'm a walking, talking enigma, I think.
We're doing a video for Remembering Canada's Heroes, and there's a thing about an Enigma machine. You never know when you might need one.
Yeah.
But you specialize, don't you?
I specialize in fine china, European china from all over Europe, England to France, particularly Bavarian, because a lot of people don't realize Limoges, which they're familiar with in France, was actually painted up in Germany because the painters were more talented. And there was also the idea of hand-painted china. If you were in society, that's what you did as a hobby. So it was the quality of the painting that gave it the value, not the location.
So this is very specific.
Well, I've learned a lot along the way. I never really intended to be an antique store. I wanted to have an art gallery, but it kind of works together, and one pays the bill for the other, and they work very well together, along with the rare books, which I also never intended on getting into, but it's an expanding area.
We've got a similar situation, I think, because Debbie got into photography and I was always in music and audio, and somehow film was the connection.
Yes.
So I understand how that works.
Well, I come from a background of community building, and that's another thing I like to do. Reach the tentacles out into the community and help make things flower. And one of the things I'd love to do around here is to set up a loop going from Maccan to Parsborough along the 302 highway, which is far more scenic than either of the other two in some ways, because there's a lot of forests and stuff where we've got a winding river and all kinds of interesting things along the way.
And that loop, would it end up going through Advocate?
Yes, it would then go from Parsborough through the various villages along that route to Advocate, end up at Joggins, and come back here. There are already loops. Amherst and Sackville are very well connected, and to Nish and so forth, and there's the studio on the marsh. But in our area, I think we need something like this.
Yeah, I think so. That's actually the loop that I took with my family last week.
Oh, I find it very, very interesting myself. And part of it is already designated as part of the
Eco Tour.
It's part of the Eco Tour, and people are familiar turning off and going down to Joggins, but they don't realize how beautiful it is if you just keep going.
Yeah, it is really beautiful. And there's another mini loop too that goes to Minudi.
I'm not familiar with that one, but that's a good idea
It's a
too.
mini loop.
Minudi is the Acadian center. It was an Acadian area, as well as Maccan was also at one time. Had Acadian people here.
I think the idea of the loop is really good. We actually were in another antique shop, and there was a funny conversation that happened where she was talking about going to the auctions, because I asked her, where do you get your antiques from? And she was saying, well, we go there. And she said something about competition with other antique people. And I just kind of went, it's not really competition, because each of you, we know all the antique shops in the area, and each one has its thing.
Its identity, yes.
Right. You're not competing. You're actually helping each other
It's like in a family, you form the family, and if you're going to have an enemy, it's outside the family, and that would be, bringing the tourists in and that kind of thing.
Right.
Or just being in business in general and not a lot of competition within, because we can all help each other. I send people all the time to various other places, galleries and antique shops and bookshops.
Once you have the visitors in Cumberland County, there's more the merrier.
Well, exactly. And with something like this loop, it starts out good, and I think it can only get better. There'll be more and more people opening little mom and pop type businesses along the way. There's also the farmers market you pick at farms. There's several maple syrup type places, blueberry
good,
farms. And for 4 years now, I've taken thousands of pictures of the blueberry fields at various times of the year, and I plan on doing a whole series of paintings on them because that's really our strength here. We produce, I think it's 70% of the blueberries in Canada, the statistic I heard.
And apparently some really good strawberries as well.
Oh yeah, strawberries, and there are market gardens here that provide the vegetables in Dieppe. We've got some wonderful restaurants as well, and I'd like to see more open up.
I like the fact that these things seem to be tied together. I did an interview on Broadfork Farms, Wismico Farms, and they supply the restaurants, such as the Wild Caraway.
A lot of people are not familiar with what a good restaurant Wild Caraway is because it won 3 different years in the top 10 restaurants in Canada, and that's quite something. And they have 2, I believe they're cordon bleu chefs. They're very good chefs there. And of course, we have all the fresh seafood all along the coast.
And the wines and the beers are winning awards. The cheese.
The cheese factory is another one. They produce some of the best cheese in Canada. It's a bit off this loop idea, but if a person wanted to just take a little side trip, it's not that far.
No, not at all. I think it's a great idea. So let's talk about your business. How did you get started here?
As I said, I had a fire. I opened up with hardly anything to begin with. Dealers started coming in wanting to put things in on consignment, and I was only too happy to do that because it helped fill the store up. It was perfect for this purpose. It had all the antique shelves and so on, and it's an authentic general store. It has the original counters, original windows, original tin ceilings, and it creates a wonderful ambiance. Upstairs, I did a bit of renovation, and it makes wonderful galleries. There's a series of galleries. I've got the main one, which I use for exhibitions, either for myself or for guest artists. I have a craft gallery, I have a needlework gallery, and I have a dedicated bird room, which doubles as a guest room.
And we were here last week, and we got to meet one of your artists.
Yes, Seneca Lemon, who has immense talent and extremely unique work. She works with nature, imagery. It blends beautifully up into the spiritual world, and she just does fantastic detailed work in construction and collage, painting, and very interesting. Once you talk to her, you're there for hours.
I think I appreciated the 3-dimensional aspect to some of her work as well.
Yes, she has one piece here that's done with feathers, and she has things like rhinestones, artificial frogs, and that sort of thing involved. And she's been doing some driftwood sculptures as well. Because the work started off as flat, and then it became bas relief, low relief, and then it started getting more and more off the wall, and I suggested that she should go full 3D and do some sculptures, and she started to do that now.
And that's working for her.
That's right. She is from a family of shamans, I believe back in her grandparents' time. She's a shaman herself. All the work is based on that belief and that world. And she's having a drumming session coming up as part of our 8-day festival, the first annual 8-day festival in Maccan. We're starting off with just a couple of hours of poetry on the 17th, which is a Friday. And it's just going to be anybody that has poetry, but we have a few people connected to the gallery that also do poetry. And it's very informal. And it's kind of a way to get comfortable up in the 3rd level, which I'm just opening up now. It's a loft with a big brick wall and open space. Following day, we're going to have Seneca's opening all day long as a drop-in for her show. Certainly, we're hoping for a big turnout for that. The following day is Father's Day, but because of the spiritual aspects of this, we're thinking of it like our father kind of thing, as well as the earthly fathers. Then the following day, we're going to be collecting items to set up for the drumming. Drumming is a new thing for me. I don't drum, but Seneca's going to be bringing her collection of drums, and they're absolutely gorgeous. They're hand-painted. Day before the drumming, which is going to happen on the solstice at noon, we're going to collect crystals, that kind of thing, and whatever people consider to be in their spirituality. Natural items as well, stone and driftwood and special things that mean something to people. And we'll set up some kind of environment up there. And then people will just come, and there'll be a limited number of chairs, and then there's going to be some big carpets and pillows. And it's not just straight drumming. Seneca has some recordings, and she puts those on, and it's more like you're part of a musical event. And people can bring other instruments. There's one guitarist down in Parsboro I was talking to. He plays like Jimi Hendrix, so I'm hoping he shows up.
It sounds like fun. Back again, exploring the neighborhood, and I'm sitting here with Valerie Chappell. How are you doing, Valerie?
I'm nervous, but I'm all right, thank you.
Valerie, we keep running into you. Somehow, whenever we're running around the neighborhood, Debbie and I run into you.
Probably through the arts.
Through the arts.
Through the arts, yeah.
You seem to be involved with a lot.
I was involved with fiber arts over the years, and now I'm more into the painting side of the arts. So you see me at the art gallery at the Artisan's Gallery in Amherst.
We do.
You do, because you've been there.
And we've run into you a few times at Dale's.
And at Dale's Gallery in Maccan.
Flying Colors.
Gallery and Retreat.
There you go.
Across from the post office.
That's right. We forgot to mention that. Right across from the post office.
Easy to find.
Now, you were saying that you are in your early 20s, you said?
I probably could have been at one time, but now I'm probably in my late 60s. But that's a good thing.
But you look like you're in your mid-20s.
Oh, you're such a kind person.
And you quilt, or you did.
I quilted, and I made clothing. I sewed for people for 25 years. First person I made a wedding dress for, her name was Kathy, and the last time I sewed a wedding dress, it was also a Kathy, but the last time was my daughter. I still play with quilting, but I've lost the use of my hands for that, so now I paint and I take trash and turn it into treasures. Or I would use a tin can and punch it out with nails and make it into a piece of art so that you are refurbishing something and making it into something new. Like gourds, make them into bird houses and bird feeders.
And they're very colorful, too.
Well, thank you. And I get glass and paint glass and make it into a decorative art for other people.
And how long have you been doing that?
Since I was 65, 3 years. No, I'm probably doing it all of my life.
You gotta be lying. You know, most women lie about their age to be younger.
Okay, I'm 45, the same age as my daughter.
There you go. That's more believable. You've been doing the painting on the glass?
For about 3 years. My daughter encouraged me to try something different because my hands had started swelling and wouldn't go down. So she brought me home paints and canvas from the dollar store, and I applied whatever knowledge I had from everything else and started painting on canvas. Still hadn't taken any classes, but I lucked out at the Flying Colors Gallery that I met up with Dale about the time I decided to retire, and he was looking for a worker. So in that process, I told him I would come and give a helping hand if I could have art classes. So I started doing drawing classes with Dale. So we did a barter system.
I love it.
And it's been awesome. So in return, here we are now in 2016, and my friend Debbie and I have a little space in his art gallery, and we still help out. We come and help him, and he helps us.
And your friend Debbie does some amazing photography.
She does, from the area. And because of that, I've been traveling all over the area, having a ball with her. I drive her around, she doesn't drive. So I've been taking photos as well.
That's the arrangement I have with my wife. She doesn't drive, I drive her around.
I think that's awesome.
And I get to see and do all kinds of things because of
that
it.
you wouldn't normally do. That's right.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I take pictures of eagles and slide down the sides of hills trying to get a picture, or watch her slide down the hill in the middle of ice and snow and try to catch her before she goes.
So I'm confused now. You can't quilt, but you can climb up and down hills in winter with no problem.
Yeah, well, I don't use my hands to do that.
I got you. No climbing trees.
No climbing trees. No, I had to give that up too.
So you are from this area?
I was born in Hastings, I grew up in Brookdale, and I live in Fenwick. It's within a 5-mile radius of Amherst. And I live in Fenwick now, and I'm about 5 minutes from Dale's gallery. And I garden, and I craft, and I take furniture out of people's backyards and make it into refurbished furniture. I use glass from Frenchies, and I paint it. I get gourds from the neighborhood, and I make them into birdhouses. People save me their cans, and I make them into little candle lights for outside their driveway. They can put lights in them from the old-fashioned nail and hammer punching designs.
I gotta admit, around Cumberland County, there's no lack of reusable items.
We also go on the beach and get sea glass and driftwood and make it over into reusable items as well.
I like the stand you did with the driftwood. It's really nice.
Well, thank you. It has my gourds hanging on it. It's supposed to be on the wall, and the gourd is supposed to hang down from it.
Okay. It's a little short for that, but I like the way it looks. Where's Debbie from?
Debbie's from Maccan. She lives in behind the post office on the river. So she's maybe 2 minutes from here, from Dale's gallery. Yeah.
And I guess all of you know Bud. Teitelbohr Bud?
My father.
That's your father?
Yes, we do. Gardner Hurley.
Okay. Because we met Bud last week when we were here visiting with Vanessa Lenges, my daughter.
Awesome. A lovely gentleman. Yeah.
He is, and well informed on the Teitelbohr.
He is. He can tell you everything you need to know. That's right. He was a counselor here at one time in the area, and member of parliament.
And member of parliament.
Yes.
Warden?
And warden, game warden.
No.
County warden.
County warden. Okay, different from jail warden and game warden. I got it. I gotta admit, this is a great area for wildlife to begin with. I don't think we've ever taken a ride here without seeing, could be anything from a raccoon to a pheasant to deer to
Bear.
eagle.
Bears.
Haven't seen a bear yet.
They're just up the road. The Canada geese are on the marsh here all around Maccan with their babies now.
Yes, they are. So there's no lack of wildlife. You must be busy every day.
Could be out on the road every day. Well, sometimes we are.
Have to stop to rest once in a while.
We just hope that everybody comes and spends some time with us from the 17th until the 24th of June for the Shaman Festival and Summer Solstice, and it's for Father's Day, and St. John the Baptiste Day, I think, is the last day. So it starts on the 17th, so that includes first day of summer, Father's Day, St. John the Baptiste Day as well.
Now, St. John the Baptiste, are you going to be here?
I am.
Any special celebrations? I understand that you have
I think
some
I
Acadian
may-
in your background.
I may do a little bit of Acadian cooking for people to try that day.
Oh, and what might that be? Because
Well,
maybe we're
it
interested.
might be a secret.
It might be a secret.
It'll be something very simple, but yes,
French
I would
onion
love it if
soup.
you did come and enjoy a little bit of Acadian type food. It's not
Absolutely.
necessarily the healthiest in the world, but
I survived growing up in Quebec. I think I can do it.
oh, then you'd be all right. Yeah, so we'll have some of that. Well, it could be something as close as biscuits and homemade jam. How's that?
Okay.
Close enough?
I'll take it.
Yeah, all right.
Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us, Valerie Chappell.
Well, thank you very much. I enjoyed it.
And then the following 3 days after the drumming festival, we're going to have just drop-in art openings for our other artists. Deborah Emsley is a local photographer. She does incredible wildlife photography. She's been to Iceland and Greenland and places like that. She does a whole range of things. She's been doing this for 25 years.
Good area for it, too.
Yes, and most of the photography she does for wildlife, it's in this area. She's always walking around the village and going out of town and photographing eagles. She's got baby eagles in nests. She's got a convention of eagles in the nests, bears and wolves and all kinds of things. Then the following day is for my own art, and I do acrylic paintings, and I base mine on where I live, and it's whatever I feel connected to. So I do the architecture, the interesting buildings, just forms like trees and unique things that I see locally.
Have you done the tidal bore yet?
No, but I've taken a lot of pictures. My favorite time of day is 5 o'clock, which is called God light, when the light comes golden through the trees. A lot of people like that, and I love the fall as well. I love that kind of warm color. So I do very ramped up color. I jazz it up a little more because that's how I see it at that time of day.
Oversaturated.
Yeah, very saturated, yeah. I've been painting all my life. It's going on 60 years now of paintings. So that's the opening for that, and that'll be on the main floor. I have all kinds of work down there and prints as well. The last day of the festival is going to be our Acadian background artist extraordinaire who does objects to art. Overall, the 8 days is going to have quite a variety of things for people to see and gives them enough time. They can come and just drop in. That way there's no specific time. Maccan is very central to the Maritimes, so people could be coming from Prince Edward Island or Halifax or Parrsboro or Moncton. A lot of them have summer cabins, camps, or they're bringing relatives that are from out of town, and they have their own schedules, so this way it's very flexible.
Sounds like great fun for June.
Oh yes, that's just June, and then...
He's got other plans for July?
Seneca's show, which is called Waking the Shaman, is going to be up all summer long, and the other 3 artists involved will have new work all summer long. So it's going to be kind of a rotating type show.
So it'll be like drop in and see Dale anytime. There might be something going on.
Yes, well, 11 to 4 is my hours generally. That's when most people come, but they can call anytime and I can be here.
Okay, time has run out. If you'd like to contact us, our email is scotiaheritageproductions@gmail.com.
When it comes to local business, arts, crafts, and entertainment, we'll try our best to provide a global perspective on our community and remind listeners that where one regularly chooses to spend their money is often much more powerful than the occasional vote at the ballot box.
So, help out your talented neighbors and enjoy the unique diversity of what Cumberland, Westmoreland has to offer. And ultimately, you'll be helping yourself. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening. Exploring the Neighborhood is sponsored by our friends at Kanza.
So, tune in next week for another episode of Exploring the Neighborhood with your hosts, Thor and Debbie, here on CICR 99.1 on your FM dial.